Hey everyone, Corey from Aquarium Co-op. Today we're talking Japanese rice fish. I have fallen in love with these guys many years ago, and I've realized I haven't made videos about it. And I've dabbled in it. I've made money off of it. I fell in love with it. And so today I want to talk about Japanese rice fish in general. We're going to talk about the care, what I've learned. So it all started. I look back in videos when I was in Japan over 8 years ago, and there was this fish that I hadn't really seen before. They kind of looked like the Wawase rice fish, but different. And as I kept visiting more and more Japanese fish stores, they all had them. And they had them in these like pots and bowls and in tanks. Then I started seeing they had magazines dedicated to them and they had their own foods. And I was like, what is this? I've never seen this before. And I'm really into the hobby. And so I brought that knowledge back early, and I was like, we got to get these in the United States. And so I worked really hard to try and get them in, and it took forever. And now they're readily available. A lot of the mom and pop stores, you can go and you can buy them. You can buy them online at places like dansfish.com. You can buy them at, other retailers as well. And why do I love this fish? Well, after researching about it, one, they overwinter for me here in the Pacific Northwest. So I've had ice 2 inches thick over it, and they will overwinter, and then they just look good again next year. They keep breeding. The way they breed is really unique, and that is that the female will carry the eggs on her anal fin. They get fertilized, she'll carry them for a day or two, then she'll go deposit them on a spawning mop or plants. And that makes it really easy to kind of collect the eggs. You can take the spawning mop out, you can put it into another aquarium, raise them up. You can do this outside with ponds. And if you don't remove them in a pond outside, you'll see little babies like every morning that you can kind of net out and save from the adults, because the adults will typically eat the babies. And now we're at a point where the versions of Japanese rice fish that are coming out are many. There's longfin, there's normal fin, there's orange, platinum, bluish hue, speckles, pink, mottled, koi patterns. They're kind of like guppies that don't have to have a heater. They can just go in almost any temperature. Obviously, if they freeze solid, they're not going to live, but they're so adaptive. If they're in your home, will live, right? Now, that being said, I find that they breed a lot easier outside. I'm convinced that they need actual sunlight to really start producing. They'll produce inside, but it's like 1/20th of what they produce outside. And they only get about 2 inches big, and that might even be a little bit too big, but they're just, I don't know how to explain. If you just look up Medaka rice fish, you're going to be like, who would want to own that fish? It's kind of silvery, brownish. But when you look into Japanese rice fish, you're going to start seeing, like, wait a second, some of these are looking really, really cool. And some of the varieties I have in, I'm really enjoying them. They sell for a lot of money at the store. They're tradable. You can trade them. There's niche groups of Japanese rice fish keepers on Facebook and forums, and it's become a worldwide hobby. And that's why I think it needs a little more attention than just this is another type of fish. It is growing into, this is the beginning of something like, ooh, there's a fancy guppy keeper, where you're going, hey, I'm going to the ALA convention, the library convention. I believe there's going to start being conventions for rice fish around the world and competitions. We're already starting to see some meetups where, in California and some other places, people come from all around, they meet up and they talk about rice fish. And so in terms of kind of care requirements, I've kept them in very soft water. I've kept them in hard water. I'm on a well here. I've kept them in like 4-gallon to 10-gallon little pots and bowls outside. I've kept them inside. I've kept them in 10-gallon aquariums. I've kept them in 100-gallon ponds. Well, we have customers who've kept them in every single size, and pretty much everybody goes, yeah, they're great. I would say if you can keep white clouds alive, which is a real hardy fish, you'll be able to keep the Japanese rice fish alive, which is great. And there's a million different color morphs to choose from. Price range, you could get some real low-grade ones, maybe as cheap as $5 somewhere, all the way up to $100 a fish. And I would say that, like some of the ones I bought recently this summer, They were more at the $22 to $25 range per fish. I bought 6 of each, and I will breed them, and eventually I'll sell them and recoup my money. But I think that's one of the benefits, is that you can recoup the money. The average person can breed them. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to get rich off of them, but the average person, if you were to put them into a pond, you got some plants, and you're feeding them, you're going to be like, I made more. And that doesn't always happen if you're buying a cardinal tetra or something else. You go, yeah, I bought 5, and 3 years later, I still have 5. Where these guys are perpetually breeding almost every day. And one of the easiest ways to breed them is put a spawning mop in there, let it sit for a week, take it out, put it into a different water. Maybe it's an aquarium, maybe it's a Tupperware bowl, maybe it's another little pond, and then you put the other mop in. And then after a week, the ones that you moved hatched, and you've got another mop full of eggs, and you swap them again. You just keep doing that like every week. So if you just say, hey, every Wednesday I'm going to swap the mops, you start making a lot of fish. You have a lot for your ponds, you have a lot for your aquariums, you can trade some in, you can trade them at your local club, all of that. And because they're not finicky, and that's the lure. I know I keep saying that, but the fact that, like in Japan, people just had them outside their door, like every home, every apartment building, and that's special, I think, because it brings more people in. And it's not just, am I breeding fish? Am I keeping fish? It's, am I setting up a little aquatic garden on my patio or my windowsill or my little deck? Maybe you're in an apartment, you've got a little balcony. You can do all of that in a small package. Now, like with everything, aquatic, is more water better? Sure it is, right? But you're not prohibitively kept away from keeping this fish if you don't have a 100-gallon pond. A 20-gallon pond, great. 10 gallons, that works too. And so the fact that they will handle temperature changes really well. Now, I don't live in Arizona or Florida or somewhere. I haven't seen people have crazy problems with them from getting way too hot, but use some logic of, okay, well, maybe I'll put them under a tree, or I'll give them some shade. It'll be under here if you live in a state or a part of the world where it's crazy, crazy hot. And so I haven't found that they're sensitive necessarily to really cold or really hot. There's a breeding range in there, and I think that's somewhere between 60 and 80 degrees. As you get to both sides, it slows down, and kind of at that 68 to 72, I find it to be most prolific. But quality foods like they love to shout out on the Easy Community Pellet and the Magic Small Fish Feed, live baby brine, bugs from outside, frozen foods like Cyclops, all of them. They'll eat flake food, extreme krill flake. They're not that picky. And I think that, I know I keep coming back to that, but I left Japan going, I think this is the perfect fish. Doesn't have to be heated, not finicky, will tolerate almost any water parameter, can overwinter outside for me, cohabitates with shrimp for me, comes in a wide variety of colors, not super expensive. The average person can breed them. They don't only live 18 months to 2 years like a live bear. Like, you could just keep going on and on and on. They come in long fin and short fin and speckled patterns, and like, I honestly don't have a bad thing to say. They're not aggressive. They're not too small so they get eaten by everything. Like, there's so many good things about them. And that's where I'm glad and I'm happy to see them in more and more pet shops as I travel around the world, going, all right, more and more people are embracing this fish, because it used to be, we thought they were killifish. We thought they were just, speckled, or not even speckled, but just brown or silver fish. And now they're really coming into their own. And so if you have heard a little bit of like, oh yeah, some rice fish, some Japanese rice fish, know that as of the making of this video, you're still in the getting into the hobby, and it's still growing. Where I would say something like African cichlids and guppies, and they're all big segments of the market, but you're not at the beginning. You're not blowing up. You're not learning. And that's what's going on right now to so many rice fish keepers, is sharing and trading fish, and just methods, and what's the best spawning mop you've used, and what food, and how much, and what temperature. It's still a growing community, and that is really infectious when you're a part of something like that. So I highly recommend, if you're not keeping rice fish. Give yourself, a chance, try some out, go to your local fish store, see if they've got any, ask for something, get them for you. If not, look in the comments down below. I'll always be linking places that we endorse to buy from. Changes over the years. Sometimes management changes, and or people just change. But usually, if it's 10 years from now and this video is still here, there'll be a link down there, and it will point you to places that we would shop online. I happen, as of the making of this video, I got 2 groups that are in my quarantine, and now they're going outside in tubs. I got them from Dan's Fish. I've bought them from lots of places, even Aquabid and eBay and other just stores. But I would say Dan's Fish, I know I can trust them, and they do a good job at shipping. They actually schedule when it's going to ship. They ship overnight. It costs more, but I'm at a point where I need stuff to kind of land when it's going to land and be problem-free. So let me know what you're keeping down below. What kind of rice fish? What's your favorite? How long have you been keeping them? And just start the conversation. That's the biggest thing. I think I'm not saying that I discovered them. I'm not saying that you didn't already know about them. I'm just putting you guys and girls and everybody else on notice that rice fish are here. They're growing, and it's been that way for a couple years now, and it's going to continue to be that way. This feels very much like when Sluster-Pearl Danios kind of hit the market and shrimp hit the market. I remember when both those happened. I got in. I actually made a lot of money breeding shrimp, and then it lasted. And this is a fish that's going to last. This isn't like the Dark Knight or the Black Ram, where it's like everyone wanted them, and then everyone goes like, yeah, but they lost all the color. Like, why do I still want them? Like, they're still selling out there, but not nearly. This is a forever type of fish and hobby, and it's accessible. I know lots of people that keep them that don't even have aquariums, and because it crosses that outside garden with indoor aquarium and merges that together, it's bringing a lot more people you wouldn't normally interact with into the hobby. So you're on notice. Get yourself some rice fish if you haven't had them. If you hate them, let us know why in the comments too, because I haven't run into that yet, and I would love to know, like, why do we hate them? But I think most people that have kept them would love them. They keep them, and they'd even share. Maybe you'll find someone in the comments that says, I've got way too many, and I live in this state, and you live there too. So good luck, enjoy, and we'll see you in the next one.